You're listening to the Orchestra Teacher Podcast. Welcome to the Orchestra Teacher Podcast. This is Dr. Charles Laux, bringing to you episode number 63 with our special guest, Miss Rosie Riquelme. Rosie is the orchestra director at Decatur High School, which is just east of downtown Atlanta.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm always excited.
I'm glad that we were able to connect again. We've known each other for a little while now, actually quite a while.
Quite a while.
And I've always just admired your creativity in the classroom, and we're going to talk about that today, and all the great work you did at Collins Hill High School. And now you've started a new position this year, and I can't wait to hear all about it and the ins and outs and all the things you're doing. So thank you so much for being here, and welcome. This is episode 64, I think, or 63. Wow. Yeah, I know. So we're really doing. I love doing it, and we're having a great time. So tell us all about everything that's going on with you. Tell us, I guess, for people who haven't listened to you being on the podcast before, give us a little background real quick, and then yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, this is my 13th year teaching. I keep saying it's going to be my luckiest year.
There we
go. So for the first 12 years of my career, I was at Collins Hill High School in Swanee. And this year, I'm at Decatur High School in Decatur, Georgia, and I'm thrilled to be there. It's quite an adventure. Dr. Heston McCraney has been teaching the middle school and the high school students when they got to high school.
Okay.
So this is the first year where there were 9th, 10th, and 11th graders.
Got it. So it's a new program.
Yes, at the high school. Yeah.
At the high school, right. So, and everybody's, working their way up. So it's an opportunity for you. You went from full-time, a billion kids at Collins Hill to your new program, and you're part-time. So tell us a little bit about that. And, I know it's always hard to decide to do that, and I know you have some reasons, but I know you're still keeping busy. So tell us about how you're able to work full-time and then have a flexible schedule too, right?
Yeah. So I had, a lot of kids at Collins Hill, and I've got 47 this year at Decatur High School.
What a difference, right? Personalized.
I mean, I will say though, it's pretty nice,
for sure.
It's intimate, and, I'm not having to yell, to the fifth row, second violin,
Yeah.
That's refreshing. But it's also, it's exciting. It's a challenge, and just to see, all right, what's this program going to be? And it was a tough decision to go from full-time to part-time. It was something I really had to discuss with my husband a lot, because there was some money crunching, crunching we had to do. But I believe in the opportunity that is there. I believe in the cluster, and I know Heston McCraney is just incredible. So I obviously wanted to work with her. And so just, I was really happy at Collins Hill, and I always knew I wouldn't leave unless a really interesting, cool opportunity presented itself. And this was that. So I'm really
my big thing is, every time I've moved schools or whatever, I follow my heart, and you just know, inside. And there was one particular move I made. I won't say where, but it just didn't. It wasn't my heart, and it wasn't there, And it's hard when you are trying to do what's best for yourself and for your career and for your family first, of course. And sometimes you have to make those decisions, and it's not always easy, but you follow your heart, you feel like you're in a great place. That's good. That's great.
Yes. My whole family actually lives around Decatur. My dad, my aunt, my sister, my mom lived right there too. So I feel connected to that community.
Yeah. That's great. And so tell us how, so now how many days are you working? Every day, half a day?
Well, so the schedule is interesting. So Decatur High School is on an alternating block schedule, which I thought I would hate, but I'm actually kind of liking it. So I work a full day on Tuesday, a full day on Thursday, and a half day on Friday.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
so that's exactly half time. And that gives you Monday and Wednesday and half a day Friday. Are you working mornings on Friday?
I am not. I'm enjoying my half day on Friday.
No, but I mean, are you working the morning part or the afternoon part?
Oh, literally the middle. I get to
Oh,
go
okay.
in an hour late and I leave an hour early,
That's
so
great. That's
pretty good.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's nice. That's
Yeah.
nice. So on your days off, you're not off. I know you're doing a lot of work at different schools. Tell
Yeah,
us a little bit about that.
this I actually really love this. I love going to other schools. You
Yeah.
know, it's one thing to like talk to your colleagues at PD and things like that, but to actually be in their program,
Yeah.
in their school, you really get to see how they run things. And it's been really special. I've really enjoyed going to all the different schools that I've been going
Yeah.
to
So
so
you're doing
far.
sectionals. Are you doing any clinicking too, like with the whole group?
Yeah,
Yeah. Right.
it's mostly sectionals.
Mm-hmm.
Violin, viola, bow holds, that is like my ultimate passion. But no, I've definitely done some full group
Hmm.
stuff too, but it's been mainly violin
Great.
sectional.
So, but that gives you the flexibility because if you don't want to go or you can't go, you just say, "Sorry, I can't. I'm not available that day."
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's super nice to be able to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. And I'm learning new rep when I'm going to these schools. And
Right.
so it's
Yeah.
great.
I mean, the best for me, that some of the best PD I can do is when I see teachers work and like you said, you're getting rep ideas, you're getting teaching strategy ideas.
Mhm.
Um, and teachers, that's what we do. We borrow and steal from each other. And, some things will work for us and some things won't, but that's
Exactly.
fantastic. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
cool. And then the thing that we had talked about over the summer, and we had talked about doing this podcast a while ago, and it just didn't work out. You were busy, I'm busy, and was some of the ways that you've taken the role of the teacher away from being the dictator or the person at the front of the classroom and made them the facilitator of learning and putting that responsibility into the kids' hands rather than always, having to be in front of the kids and if you're not doing something, they're not doing anything. And so tell us a little about like all about everything that you've been doing with that. And because I took some of your ideas and I want to learn more right now, but and it's worked pretty well for me already this year. So yeah, I know. So tell us about it.
Yay.
Tell us about it.
Yeah. So this was just an idea that it came to me at the beginning of last year, but this kind of thing has been on my mind for years, trying to
Hmm.
solve this little puzzle. So I got my specialist. I graduated May 2021,
Okay.
and
And you did that in technology,
instructional
instructional
technology.
technology. Perfect.
Yes. I loved that degree. It really showed me how like technology will never replace good teaching. You know, you
Yeah.
have to uh, be able to take good teaching and use technology to help reinforce it.
Yeah.
But it really got me thinking about teacher-centered learning versus student-centered learning.
Hmm.
And it just hit me. I was like, "Oh my gosh, orchestra is teacher-centered learning.
Yeah.
Teacher on the podium providing all information and students sit there and do what teacher
Right.
said."
Yeah.
And and all the research I had to do in my specialist, all of the examples that I was finding for my homework, there were no music examples,
Hmm.
none.
Hmm.
And it showed me, oh my gosh, like this is an area of growth for music education in general. We
Hmm.
need to get off the podium.
We can
Um,
learn a lot from other disciplines.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we really can. And anyway, so that's just really kind of where this all started. Is just like even my professors for my specialist degree, they would ask me if they could keep my homework assignments so that there would be some music examples.
Nice. That's
Like
good.
it's just they're really this it's there's not much. There's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
much out there. And I think it's changing. And I think that was something that, COVID did kind of force us into was
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think I don't know many teachers that are teaching exactly the same now as they did before COVID. Right.
right,
So
right.
as terrible as it was,
Yes, terrible.
it was terrible. Maybe
Yes.
maybe it did help us in some ways too.
Right, right, for sure. And so that's kind of like I just been kind of thinking, how can I change this? And I always hated lectures. I hated lecture-based
Mhm.
classes. I have just a horrible attention span. I won't say which classes in case, past professors are listening. Um, there were just some classes that I could not.
Yeah.
I would literally sit there and be like, "Rosie, focus, focus, and I would just tune them out after like 10 minutes. I
Well,
just
yeah,
couldn't do it.
I think it's human nature, and most people can't really pay attention for an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your mind does go other places, and so I totally am right with you on that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was hard, and I always used to think I was dumb, because I didn't get, I mean, I didn't get bad grades, but, like, my sister took the harder classes, got better SAT scores, so I thought I was dumb, but it wasn't until my senior year of college, I got a tutor for a statistics course that I just knew I was gonna need help with,
Hmm.
and I went from being awful at math to getting the best grade in the class,
There you
and I
go.
really believe it's because of this tutor who didn't just lecture at me for my
Hmm.
whole
Yeah.
session. She worked with me through
Yeah.
these problems. And then
Yeah.
before you know it, I was leading like tutoring sessions and statistics. And I'd
There
been
you go.
math my whole life. And so that's when it really clicked for me. I was like, oh, I'm not dumb. I just don't learn that way.
Yeah. And that's why we, try to find all these different strategies to teach the same skill, because we're going to hit students here and here and here, and we're going to reach them in different ways.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And then finally, I think what forced me to like, so this has been on my mind for years. This has been on my mind for, I don't know, 6 years. Like how can I make orchestra less like teacher centered?
Hmm.
Well, last year at Collins Hill was my first time teaching by myself in like a decade.
Okay.
My first year I was part-time with someone. My second year I was by myself. And then ever
Uh-huh.
since then I've had a co-director.
Right.
So, and most of us don't teach at schools where we have a lot of students that take private lessons.
Okay.
So last year when we were learning our rep, normally like in the past, if the violas were struggling with a section, I would just, ask the co-director, or they would ask me, all right, one of us will take the violas into the side room. Well, last year, like I couldn't do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I had to kind of get creative. And that's kind of where the check marks were born.
Okay. So, and I have your spreadsheet, so when you're ready, I can pull it up on screen, and people will be able to see that too.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
on the
Yeah, I
video.
guess,
If you're on the video, if you're on the audio, sorry.
yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I basically was just trying to think. I was like, how can I make my classroom as much of like a private lesson as possible? How can I make it so that back row of my orchestra is not just lost
Hmm.
the whole time? And I've always done ensembles, where you put the students in quartets,
Sure.
quintets,
Hmm.
and that worked for about 75%. But there was always that group
Yeah.
or two that would perform, and you're just like, did
Ooh.
y'all get
Yeah.
anything done?
Yeah. And you try to match ability levels, and so that's the hard part. And then, did you have those students play in front of each other, or just for you when you put them in
For the check
ensembles?
marks?
No, for
Oh,
in the ensembles when you did it the other way.
for ensembles, yeah, I was in front of the group. We would have like recital day,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
and
It's
yeah,
always hard, and I believe in kids performing, of course, but sometimes there's a lot of comparisons made, and that's can be good, but it also can be detrimental.
oh,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely. And
yeah.
one thing I noticed too on ensembles, a lot of the students were very nervous to perform.
Hmm.
I don't see that with the check marks. Like
Okay.
they're seeking me out now. Like if I've
Yeah.
set a deadline and for the check marks, they're like, "Oh, Mr. Riquelme, can you listen to my check mark?" Like they're seeking me out.
So
To,
tell us about exactly what the
oh yeah,
check mark is. So I think everybody's like, what is a check mark thing?
what are the check marks? Okay. So basically, yeah, if you want to pull up the
Yeah,
spreadsheet,
sure. Yeah, you can, and you'll be able to talk while it's up. There it is. You won't be able
beautiful.
to see it, but I can.
Well, okay, perfect.
But you know what it looks like.
So I know what it looks like. Yes. And it's totally tweakable. So, if anybody wants to use it, the link I sent is to generate a copy. So if
Yes,
you
and I will share that link in the podcast description, the YouTube description, and I guess on my website too, on orchestrateacher.net. So
perfect.
yeah,
And yeah, people can tweak it how they want.
yeah,
So what I did, because another issue with orchestra teachers, let's say, I don't know, the violas have just a nasty part that's so much harder. And then so when you're working with the violas, what are the first, seconds, cellos, and basses doing? Just sitting there.
yeah.
So this also eliminates that. What I did is I picked the 4 toughest spots in a
Okay.
piece for each instrument.
And I'm kind of highlighting those here. So She has like a column for first violin, second violin, viola, cello, bass, and then spot 1, 2, 3, 4 with measure numbers. That's what it looks like, right?
Yes,
Yep.
yeah, and those are just kind of random measure numbers. I
Yeah.
just
It's just
invented
it's
those.
just your template.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, anyways, and then yeah, I split students up into groups by section. So at my last school, because I had a much larger group, like I
Hmm.
had two first violin groups, I had two second violin,
Yeah.
etc. This year I just have one because it's smaller groups.
Hmm.
But anyways, so I send each student I send the class into their designated areas and they're to work on their check marks. And what happens is when they are ready for me to come listen to them, they fill out a little Google form and I'm like, all right, what group are you? And then I have it on my tablet. I
Hmm.
have the Google form and I can see, all right, group number 3 is ready. So I'll go listen to group 3. And what I do when I go listen to group 3 is I either say, amazing, you got a check.
Yeah.
Or I say, not quite, guys, you need to fix XYZ.
Hmm.
Call me back when XYZ are fixed.
And do it again.
And do it again.
Yeah.
And it's also great because since they're in these small groups, I have more time than ever to work on fundamentals.
Yeah.
If I see a kid's bow hold is wacky, that is a perfect opportunity for me to real quick be like, oh, remember, we have to curve our pinky or whatever.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you get that. That's what because I've been doing similar some things and just having sectional groups, and my sections are small enough that I can put them in a group and do it that way. But it's been very positive. I've just been doing I call them pass offs, but I will assign them measure numbers or a technique from their book or whatever it might be, and they have to work. We work on it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and part of Thursday, and I give them a little bit of Thursday, and then Friday to do their pass off. And it's been very successful for me. Just that the ability to for the kids to work collaboratively, and it has taken not the responsibility off of me of grading, because I want to be, I'm getting paid to teach, and
Right.
and we do that, but it's also really built, I think, a good collegial relationship amongst each section.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and last year I had to have a really what ended up being a great conversation with one of my very advanced students.
Mm-hmm.
I spread out the advanced students. I'm not going to put all the all-staters in one group.
Sure.
So I had to have a conversation with one of my very high-level students who was offending a little bit other group members. And I
Yeah.
had to have a conversation with him about how do you give constructive criticism
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
without offending people. And
Yeah. And I've had a one or two instances of so-and-so's not doing their work, or so-and-so's got a bad attitude or something like that. So that's where we have to teach these kids on how to work collaboratively, because I told them, I said, when you go into the workplace, no matter what you're doing, you will probably have to work with other people.
Mhm.
And you're going to have people that you work well with, and you're going to work with people that you don't work well with, and you're still going to have to work with them.
Yep.
So it's like a really great life lesson as well, besides getting all the music learned.
Yes,
And putting,
absolutely. I talk about my husband a lot. He's a data analyst. Like, could not be more like opposite than music.
yeah,
But like, I talk about his career a lot, and like with things like that.
yeah.
And
I do the
he has-
same. My wife's an interior architect, interior designer, and she brings home stories, and I share some of those with my kids, because I think that they don't realize how orchestra will fit into their life after high school. If they're not going to be professional musicians or teachers or in the music field, how are the experiences that they're getting in orchestra going to impact their life, or how can they use that to impact their life in a positive way and impact their career in a positive way?
Mhm.
And what kind of skills are they getting from orchestra to be able to implement those later on in life? And
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Well, and the other thing that I love about this is last year, my concert orchestra, I think that was probably like our strongest like LGPE performance we've ever had.
Mhm.
And none of those kids take lessons, not a single one in that class.
Yeah.
And I think the reason it was so strong is because, in the past I've always, had that back row that maybe they get most of the notes. That would be great.
Yeah.
None of my students were lost. Not a
That's
single.
great.
And I think these check marks kind of help close that divide
Sure.
between strongest and the weakest in the group. And I only give the groups a check mark if everyone in the group is making it through.
Yeah.
It.
Yeah.
And I told the advanced kids at my new school, when I introduced this to them, I told them, I was like, it is your responsibility to make sure that your group knows their part and
That's right.
how this works. And so, yeah, it helps foster some student leadership. And it's really cute too, because sometimes some of the kids get kind of competitive. Like in my freshman class this year, I do have 2 cello groups. And they're kind of competitive. They're like, oh, we have to beat the other cello group. But then on the flip side, they're also they're really cute and they cheer each other on too.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So what are let me go back to the check marks spreadsheet again. So you put the student's name in there and then you just check them off when they get the spots, and it shows a total there, like 1, 2, 3, 4 spots. What happens if they you say, oh no, you got to redo it? How does your grading work with this then?
Grading, in terms of if they get the check or not?
Well, yeah, once they get the check, what do you put in the grade book?
Oh, okay.
You know?
So Decatur High School has a completely different grading system than Collins Hill High School.
Every school district has their own special way.
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
Well, okay. So Collins Hill was, I think, more similar to what
traditional. Yeah.
Yeah. So
okay.
I'll use Collins Hill's as a reference. So on this, if I had 4 check boxes or 4 spots, then each check was worth 25 points.
Got it. So, and how long would they have to do? Go back to the sheet, all those measures. How long would that take to do?
That was flexible. It kind of, if I would give them a deadline for what I thought was appropriate, but if I see that they are working hard, but they are struggling, I'll extend the deadline. And that I give them a deadline just so they're not sitting there on their phones being,
just wasting time.
Right. But I push it back. If needed. It's not always needed, but sometimes it is needed. Sure. So that's flexible. And sometimes too, there's some students that maybe they were absent. And so I tell the group well, okay, go ahead and play with them. And then the absent student can then schedule me during an advisement time or a homeroom before after school.
And I've had absent kids when they come back. I say, okay, section, you got to pull up that section again. You got to play it again with your friend that was missing. And for if I had them do it by themselves, then it's not the same as when everybody else does it. So let me ask you, when you were doing this, do you have the kids play individually, or are you having them play in the group?
As a group.
Okay.
I don't like to single people out. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but in general, I try my hardest never to single. Mainly because I'm sensitive. So
every teacher has their way that works for them and what will work for them. And some different schools I've been in, the individual thing was not a big deal. Everybody did it. And other schools I've been in, and it's well, no, we're not ready for that. Even by class too. My chamber orchestra, I should be able to go through and ask them to play individually. Because they're in the top level group. But my concert orchestra is the same thing. Is they're the babies, and they're just you want them to continue on and not feel overwhelmed or that kind of thing. So
for sure. Yeah. So what I'll do, if I listen to a group and I see someone in the group is not working well, or not getting it at my last school, because I had that rapport, I was there for 12 years. I would say, all right, Susie, it looks like you need to look at this a little bit more.
Yeah.
I haven't done that at my new school just because, again, I'm new.
I'm second year in my school. So this year I've been able to drop the hammer a little bit more. Last year I was yep, I'm not going to do that yet. So, and next year it'll be even more. So, it's the way we do. And that's a whole nother discussion, about starting a new school. What are some of the challenges that you've had? And, you can elaborate as much as you want or little as you want, but, or they could be general challenges of just, whatever. What are some challenges with the new school, like moving to a new school? Or have there been any?
Oh yes, there have.
Okay.
Um, I definitely like as cheesy as this is going to sound, I miss my students.
Your old
My
students.
yeah, my
Of
Collins
course. I mean, I
like,
miss my Alpharetta students like crazy, but I love my new students.
right,
And
right.
I want to, I wish I could clone myself and teach at both schools, but
Yeah,
it's but there's going to be always things,
exactly.
and this is for everybody that's either considering, moving to a new school or has in the last year or two or whatever. We're always going to have the thoughts about our former situation, or maybe we don't, depending on what you're coming from. I came from a very good situation, and
Same.
didn't really have any beef with anything at my old school. It was most of my move was personal,
Mhm.
and I've been loving my new students and my colleagues and my building and my admin, and everything's great. Everything's great. Um, but
Yeah.
you're always going to have those thoughts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think too, like especially like the current seniors at the previous
Sure. It's
school.
like,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
you think about them.
Absolutely. Yeah, last year seniors I definitely missed, and they're great kids, and I was able to go back and see them, once I think, for a short time. But
Nice.
and I've kept in touch with a couple of them, and
Yeah,
it's super nice, and some of the
yeah,
parents
it is.
too. So, but
Yeah.
there's always that if your heart's in a place for a while, it's going to stay there. I mean, I'll
Yeah.
always be a KSU owl too, and I was there for 4 years. It wasn't that long, but there was a lot of things and a lot of people, particularly that made a difference in my life, and helped me get through things. And so
Yeah.
I'll never forget those times. Of course,
Mhm.
we
Yeah.
have that. We have that. That's the personal side of what we do. Is we take a profession and we make it very personal.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, we do. And then I guess on the non-personal aspect, some challenges. It's just it's a very new grading system
Yep.
in the city schools of Decatur. It is unlike anything I've ever heard.
Okay.
They're not on the like 1 to 100 grading scale.
Okay. What are they on? Enlighten us, please.
Oh yeah, you should have seen all the teachers' faces in like the new teacher orientation. We were all like, "What?"
So this is not new this year for the district. This is just new for you and the other
Yeah,
teachers that were there. Okay. So can you
yeah.
tell us about it, or do you get it,
It's
or don't you get it?
I barely get it. I get it enough to be functional. So
Okay.
it's 1 through 7 is
And
how the
7 is the best.
7 is the best. Yeah. And so
So 7 is an A,
yeah,
6 is a B.
yeah, well, like I
But
they
if you have a
show
1, that's like totally failing. I'm guessing, right? There's not
yeah,
like one's not like you're doing okay because there's no.
right.
Okay.
No, you're doing okay would be like a 4 or 5.
Okay.
And
And
so
like 7 is like off the charts over, like would be an A plus.
yes, a 7 is basically like perfect score. 6 would be like a low A maybe.
Okay.
Um,
So weird.
I'm
That is
still
weird.
it is
Yeah.
bizarre.
Yeah.
And it's still weird
But
when
I
I
mean,
mention
I guess it does make sense because when you look at like, so are there percentages that relate to those 1 through 7s?
um, only for college transcripts. That's it. So
Oh, because they have to come up with a GPA that's an
mhm.
equivalent.
Yeah, so that's the only way. And I mean, one thing I love about my new district is they really focus a lot on equity. There's an entire equity team and the city schools of Decatur, which is incredible. And I don't remember the name of the book. This system of grading came from some equitable grading, heavily researched book that I forget the name
Someone
of.
made money on a new system. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And so the kid comes in and they do a playing test for you, and they do like amazingly well. It's like one of your top players and top, like almost everything's perfect. That's a 7.
That's a 7.
So what's a 6?
A s-
I
uh,
mean, I don't know. Like,
I've only been working in this district
I
6
I know I'm
months.
asking you a lot of challenging questions.
Um, a
It's like you're
6
interviewing for the job.
I'm grateful they didn't ask me about this in the interview. I would probably
Yeah.
been like, "What?"
So
But no, yeah, a 6 is, I guess, maybe like an 87 to like a 93.
okay.
So,
Okay. So you're having to
yeah.
make these. So would you say it's more lenient than a traditional AF 90, 80, 70? Or is it not? It's just so different. It's hard to.
I don't know yet. Ask me
Okay.
in 6 months.
My brain is like totally wired in that system. I'm sure yours was too. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. 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 Ask me in 6 months once I've
Okay,
gotten.
we'll have to have you back on for like a follow-up quick episode and be like, tell us about this grading thing. Okay.
Yeah. I still don't fully
Okay. So
understand it.
that's been a new challenge, right? And then anything else?
Um, well, just getting equipment,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like, making sure this company is a vendor with the new
Yep.
district.
Okay.
And so it's just been a lot of paperwork.
Paperwork. Yeah. Isn't
Yeah.
that great?
Yeah, it's so much fun.
We we often aren't told how much paperwork goes into doing what we do. You know,
Yes. Yes. And
that's not always shared with us when we are going into the profession.
right. Well, and it's kind of disappointing because, I use Sight Reading Factory like
Sure.
all the time. But my planning period this year so far, like I've only assigned one Sight Reading Factory and it was actually just last week. It's because my planning period these first few weeks has just been talking to different vendors, talking to the
Mhm.
bookkeeper, just
Yeah.
getting things settled.
With
It's
Sight
so
Reading Factory, then you actually have the student subscriptions as well?
yes,
Okay.
that's yeah. This I don't know, might be an entirely new, different, a new
Okay.
podcast conversation, but yes,
Okay. And you really like it apparently.
it's a very long story short. In March of 2020, when none of us knew what to do, um, I was like, oh, I've heard of this website. Let's try it. I was horrified. I was horrified by how poorly my students did. And it
Okay.
showed me like, oh, wow. I didn't even consider myself like a rote teacher. But the fact that my students couldn't read, I was like, oh my gosh, they copy me, they imitate. This is
Mhm.
terrible. Anyways, and then the next year for my capstone for my specialist, actually, I used Sight Reading Factory. And
Great.
I had
Okay, so you're an expert. Because
I love
if you
sight.
use it for a capstone, I know like when you do a dissertation or a thesis or anything like that, you become the expert. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it was really funny at my new school at like the parent meeting day. I talked about Sight Reading Factory because I was like, FYI, like your students are going to have assignments, and I talked about why I was so passionate about it. And this one mom came up to me and she was like, "Oh my gosh, like that was an amazing sales pitch. You should work for Sight Reading
Sight Reading
Factory."
Factory.
Well, because it was, I'll share the data with you. I collected data. I don't have it right in front of me,
Sure.
but from August to May, I had 94% of my students improved at least one level in Sight Reading Factory. And that 6% is including students that just never did an assignment.
Wow.
So it
Okay.
was pretty much
That's
my entire program
that's
improved
great.
at least one level.
Mhm.
It was 80, I'm going to guesstimate this number. It was in the 80s, 84%
Okay.
improved by at least two levels.
Wow. Oh, that's great.
I'm telling you, Charles, my students have never learned music faster. Like,
Wow.
'cause they could
So
all read. They
they
could all read.
okay. Well, I'm gonna have to look into that some more, and then I'll talk to you about stealing your ideas some more.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll share with you my findings from my data. It was incredible.
Yeah, that sounds cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Um, so and so yeah, this is all so cool just to be able to catch up with you and learn about. Is there anything else that you're doing or working on that you wanted to share? I know you said you had some notes, or we catch everything that we needed to catch up on.
I think so. I mean, this year also, I'm trying to focus more on playing. I think as educators,
Oh,
sometimes.
yourself playing
Yeah.
your own playing, or and getting out there. Yeah.
I just joined the Georgia Philharmonic, and so
Oh, fantastic.
yeah, so
Fantastic.
I'm having to, work on
There's
some
there's a
first
lot
violin.
of teachers in there now. I know Jake is
Jake,
there, and Jesse
yes.
from Centennial.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Nick Wheeler is there in the bass section, which I thought was funny because I thought he was a violist. But
who is there?
Nick Wheeler, he
Oh, okay.
went to a new school. I forget what school he's at now, but yeah, he's
Yeah,
in there too.
yeah. There's a lot of teachers doing that. So yeah, so you're that meets once a week, or
Yeah,
yeah. Okay,
every Monday night.
great.
So it's
Yeah, you have a
good.
concert coming up at concert hall. Yeah,
Yes, we do. Yep.
yeah,
Your
yeah.
school.
Well, my amazing booster mom, president, my booster president, she's a violinist and she's playing in there too. So yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. So maybe you'll meet her.
Yeah.
And so I know she's really excited about it too. I can't wait to be able to play more. Right now, I play baseball a lot, and that's
There
with
you
my
go.
kids.
Yeah.
So for me, I've not been able to play as much as I would like to, but it's one of
Mhm.
those things that's that work life family balance. And
Yes.
my kids are 14 and 12. I have 5.5 years, not even or so, with them still in the house, and that I can play all I want after that. But for now, while they're here,
Yeah.
I'm dad, and I love it. And we've got a game
That's
tonight, actually. So
That's
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, I mean,
But
and I tell my students this too, like my playing journey, like there are highs and lows,
mhm, for sure, for
so
sure.
this is
Yeah,
normal.
it's hard to do because it's the timing and conflicts with concerts and events that we have. And
Mhm.
yeah, I do miss it though. And I think that's one of the things that would be cool to hear from our audience is just how do you balance, how do you find that time, or you just cut out time and you make it to be able to
Yeah.
play. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, everything's a balance. And, I also think it's great to explore new hobbies. Like I'm actually getting into woodworking. I built this cabinet behind me.
Really? That looks
Yeah,
great. Look at that.
yeah,
Okay.
it's 8 feet tall. So it's a
Wow.
beast. And I built it.
And
It's
you put lights in there? I see there's little
yeah,
lights in
yeah.
there. Yeah.
There's plates and
LEDs in there.
yep.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Hobbies are fun. I mean, that was my whole studio was just like YouTube University and figuring out one thing at a time, whether it's, framing and then, you know, drywall, and I have a power sprayer and, lights. I did all the electrical and everything. So, it's like, yeah,
Amazing.
it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool
Yeah.
just to like find those different things for sure.
Absolutely, and I think it's good for our mental health too. It gives us a little mental or just a
We
break.
need a break. Yeah.
Yeah,
Otherwise it's, orchestra all the time. So,
right.
and I know why at the beginning of the podcast, I like totally screwed everything up because I have my concert tomorrow and I'm like on concert brain. So I know that's why I thought it was Thursday because my concert's Thursday. And yeah,
Yep.
so we,
Oh,
we, we get hyper focused. And
yeah.
this has been amazing chatting with you today. And,
Yes.
taking the break away from my concert worries for tomorrow and, just being able to chat with you. And again, thank you so much for all the great ideas. Like I said earlier, anything that Rosie sends me, I will put on the podcast description, and whether you're listening on Spotify or Apple or the YouTube description as well, and then post on my website. But it's always a pleasure to chat with you. Wish you the best of luck in your first year at Decatur, and just I can't wait to catch up with you and see how everything goes. Those 1 to 7s will be on my mind.
Yeah.
Those grades.
Me too. It's an adventure, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So, well, thank you again. And everybody, it's been an awesome episode. Thank you, Rosie. We'll see you soon. Thank you for tuning in. For resources and more information, visit orchestrateacher.net.